Good morning, guys. Hope you guys had a great day. This week, a lot of patience was required for trading, but the good thing is, now we did some scalps. Yesterday, I did some short equities, right, which we covered fast for 1-2% gains, which are very good. In options, I know we nail 100%, we nail 1,000%. But position sizing also matters. On equities, you can go in with bigger size. Even if you catch a 0.5%, 1% move, is huge. So on an equity, if you're trading 100 shares, for example, just an example, an equity, if you buy 100 shares of something, on a $1 move, you make $1 on every $100, right? So if you buy 100 shares of Amazon, for example, and you cash that $15-20 move, that's a lot of money, right? Or if you buy a small price per share stock, let's say you're like TSM, we did yesterday. We shorted at 103, 104.55, I believe. And then we covered at 103.50, right? So that's a $1 move that we caught. That's huge for equity on the day trade within like half an hour, 1 hour, right? And then if it doesn't go on your way, you can always stop out for the very minimal small losses. But you guys can see in the last 4 days, that why the patience was must. There was no direction here on SPX, right? Things were just chopping in the middle. How do you play this? Even when this was a fully bearish looking candle, we still said no, wait, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to go down. So there's a lot of stuff that was just held here in between. Now, what happens today? If you go over to the Gamma report, I think it gives us some good hints, right? What may happen in the markets. So I highly suggest that you read it a few times, if not once, right? It's very easy to understand, nothing complicated in there. For the first time, Gamma report after a while, for the first time after a long time, is leaning a little towards bullishness, but given certain circumstances, right? So if you understand and you pick up, right? I'm not bullish like for the coming months, but we're into the FOMC maybe, right? Because I know everyone's expecting a dump into FOMC. Right. I personally have no idea what happens, but let's see. But I think there's a good chance that today the levels to watch, right? The levels to watch today, right? LB and I are usually on the same page. Our numbers may be off by 1-2 levels, but that doesn't matter, right? But we're usually on the same page with these. 4,300 is the first resistance that we have. If we do go through 4,300, then 4,320. Now, if this happens in the morning, if this happens early in the morning in the daytime, this is a very good place to do a short scalp, especially at 4320. Not 4300, but 4320. It'll be more of a conviction play, and you take your little, and that happens to be the high of almost a high of March 7th. All right, March 7th high, which was Monday. So 4320 will be a great short scalp if we get on SPX. So watch it, and you can execute if you want for puts for a quick scalp play for 30, 40, 50%, whatever it may happen. I have no idea. And then from 4320, if we come back and we test these lows, 4250, 4240, late in the day around 230 or something like that happens, there's a good chance a short covering may happen. All right, there's a very good chance short covering may happen. But today, 4250 will be the key level, right? 4250 will be the key. And today, if 4300 is not achieved, if 4300 is not achieved at all, then there's a good chance market comes back down to 4100 coming days, right? Maybe today we sell off on some news, or maybe in the coming days. And then also news headlines matter, right? So far, some positive headlines from Russia, Ukraine, which for short term will give us a little bit of relief rally in the markets based on algos and whatnot. All right, and that's pretty much it. But again, after the FOMC, if the market holds near 4300, there's a good chance that into the FOMC we will get volatility. Next week we will get some volatility, but there's a good chance that we end up holding this 4400, 4300 zone. But that we see next week what happens, right? And then the following months, weeks, we'll have more clarity on where the market is headed. Okay, so that's that for SPX. And also for FOMC, we have roughly 30% delta expiring, right? So a short hedge covering is very likely. We will get some short covering rallies, but they won't be real buying, right? Because of the geopolitical issues and plus until the FOMC. So until the FOMC is not cleared, there really won't be real buying in the market. Anything, all the rallies, things that you see, they're probably based on the short coverings, all right? And we had some earnings. So let's go over some earnings. Oracle, right? And also, before I go over this, since we're talking about SPX, I just want to go over this. I hope you guys have been watching the world market. I hope you guys have been watching the, see, if you guys go on finnews.com, just click on futures. We have everything here, all right, for a nice, and their charts are beautiful, right? You guys got grains here, currencies, soft, energy, indices, and whatever you want. But if we go on the Euro stock or DAX, just for an example, just to see what's happening on that side of the world, because that's where the war is. DAX is roughly at the 14,000 resistance point, gave a nice little dip. Now we see what happens here. Does it hold or does it turn bearish and come down, right? So let's see what happens. But if DAX starts holding here, flagging, and starts showing some strength, then it's very likely that the American markets even rip higher or show more strength for the time being, all right? Because that's positiveness out of Europe back into here. But again, DAX fell from 16,000 to 12,500, so a little rally is, I mean, it's not just going to go straight down. So let's see what happens in the coming weeks, what happens here, all right? Because that will give us some hints about our stuff. And VIX, if we go over it, still high, right? Still high. Let me go on the weekly chart. We have 4 red days. Now the only thing here is it's been holding here. Do we consolidate here or what happens? If we go back into here in 2019 October, right? You see how it had a little flaggy pattern near the 20s range. Can we have a flaggy pattern here, maybe above 27, 28 range for some weeks? Who knows? Market slows down, nothing much happens, and then maybe flag out. I have no idea, right? But VIX above 27, I don't buy calls. Even if VIX does fall below 27, I'd be very careful, because then 27 will happen to be the support. So with call buying, I will be very patient. I might not even do any calls unless it's for an overnight gap. I'd rather not do it in this market for the next few weeks. Trust me on this. You don't want to get caught on the wrong side, right? Or if I do decide to, then I will buy time. It's likely going to be an overnight play, because a lot of hedges still remain in VIX, all right, and certain other tickers around the market, which we'll go over some other day. It'll be a whole new introduction to you guys. Oracle, they had their earnings. They're down a little bit. Their earnings per share they missed, right, by 5 cents, but their cloud business was strong. But I'm just going to go over technically on the chart. Let's just go on the weekly, what we see here, right? I love this name, but the thing I see here is a nice little pattern is holding. And let's see if we can hold this level. But again, in the coming weeks, I do see something like this. It might bounce here if the market holds back towards $80, $83, who knows? And then this 200 MA will likely catch up, and it's probably going to bounce on it one more time. So the next few weeks to few months will require a lot of patience in the market. Right, the market might not make big moves either way. 1 week we might be huge green, 1 week we might be huge red. Take your profits in this market. Trust me, if you hold on to your profits for a bigger directional move, there will be some individual stocks that you might catch, but you're likely, if you buy an option at let's say $2, it goes to $3 or $3.50. Have a stop loss on it. Don't let that thing go back to even break even. Maybe stop at a $2.50 if you have to. Right, unless you're swinging something, you have your high conviction, it's a different story. All right, and then we have Uber. Got some upgrades. I'll just remove my drawings. So far on the weekly, it's trying to make a reversal. Let's see if we can. Right, I'll go up. It got a $50 target by DB, and we're short DB, and but let's see how long this level holds. But I think if the market continues going sideways or whatever happens, this is a zone where the supply and demand, it usually consolidates, right? And it takes a time. So Uber, I would not go long or short here. Let it consolidate here for a bit. I think it will set up, it will give us a move, and then we see what happens, right? I doubt we see a spike all of a sudden. For that, we need some very, very good news from Uber itself, geopolitical news, or from the Fed, all right? So that's Uber. Rivian, this thing, right? The day it IPO'd, at least the MSL must have stopped you from FOMO, right? Because it was just a hyped up stock. We said that from $100 above that this is going to come back to 2030. Right? I was very confident in it, right? I did not play puts, I did not like the spreads, but this was a very obvious play, right? And from 180 is back down to $41. That tells you the state of the company. This company is done for a long, long time. It's going to take it at least a few years before it gets out of this zone above 65, 70, right? When Tesla initially came to the market, it had a lot of trouble also. So Rivian will go through its cycle. It's going to be a long time, and let's see what happens. And they said supply chain is hurting them, right? I mean, they're not even doing much. So, Docu, back to the pre-pandemic lows. So let's remove our drawings. An ugly looking chart, very typical chart in the market. You'll see on many names. We're here in the supply and demand before the pandemic when it broke out. So if we approach these levels and these levels are held, and then the market eventually reverts in the coming days or weeks, we might catch a $10, $20 move to the upside. But again, this company, I will tell you right now, mark my comments, is done for a few years at least. Right? You're probably going to see this chart for the next few years like this, right? Something like this, right? It might have some squeezes, but it's just it'll do something like this. People that are expecting to go have this back to 280, you simply don't understand the market. It's simple as that. right? You're FOMO, you're in love with the stock, you don't understand, and you have your ego stuck that it's just gonna go up and up, right? So companies like this take a long time when they give the gains like this, and from 314 got sold to 94 bucks. Be careful with it, right? Unless they announce some great numbers, you go into fundamentals deeply, their growth we see, and their guidance is weak, right? So they gave a very very weak guidance, and it's down a lot. It's already trading at 77 bucks, right? TTD, we used to play this name a lot, right? This name actually held up pretty well, right? So it held up pretty well, right? On the weekly, it's very choppy, right? It also had its run from the pandemic. It held up pretty well, but I think this is in a very big chop zone here, and this stock needs to. I think we need something from it right now. I don't think it's in play. I would wait for the 200 MA touch. If it gets there, then maybe you can try playing for a bounce. But I think until it doesn't get 94, 98 plus solid hold, I would not bet on it too much. But again, Trade Desk I think it's a great company. They do a lot. But again, it's a very loved stock in the market because a lot of people made a lot of money from it, and then those same people give a lot of money back to it, right? And but just watch the 200 MA if we get it, and then we see. Again, before investing in these companies now, you cannot just invest based on technicals. Now you gotta bring in the fundamentals on these companies, on these dips, and based on the fundamentals, you will choose what to buy. Trust me on this. If you don't do fundamentals, you will regret it. So if you don't know how to do it, go on YouTube tutorials, understand price to earnings ratio, understand their numbers, understand the growth, understand the worth, with the market cap, with the numbers they're producing, is it worth investing in this company, right? And then we have C Limited, right? Very loved company in the market, very loved company, right? And from 372 is back at 98, right? And there's still put flow coming into this for these levels right here, for 70s, 60s zone. There's a put flow coming in for this, right? The chart is just straight down, a lot of volume, a lot of buying and selling going on here. I think the company will base around here sometime soon, right? But here it's very tricky. Even if the company moves 10% up or down, $10 up or down, which it does like it's nothing, that's a huge move, right? So a great equity trading stock with a stop loss though, right? You must put a stop loss in place, obviously. But I think I would wait on it. It went through the 200 MA, wasn't able to defend. 50 MA just sliced through. It gave up all the gains from 2020 from the pandemic run, right? It gave up all the gains. A nice little strong uptrend, and then just gave up all the gains. But now I still would not rush into it. The only way to play this stock is, for example, I would probably scale in small in equity. Let's say if I want to put in $1,000 in SE, I will start by putting in $300 here only, and that's it. All right, just $300, 3 shares. If the company rips, well, great. I got my 3 shares. I'm in. Let's see in the coming quarters. Maybe I'll buy at an expensive price, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Or you buy 3 shares here, and if it comes down another 25, 30 bucks, now I will buy another 3 shares, and you bring the average down. Right? Company starts basing here. Okay, this is good. Earnings are coming. I'll buy 3 more shares. And that's how you scale into equity, not all at once. Let that cash sit in your account if anything. Okay. And apart from that, VUM, what is this? I have no idea what this is, bro. It's not showing up. But on Amazon, another stock that I'm just gonna go over on the weekly, making a nice little reversal. But yesterday the move gave it away. The earnings split move was not strong. We were only up 150 points on it. That's nothing. And these Amazon stock split news were supposed to send the stock 400, 500 points higher. All right, but I think in the coming weeks we're probably going to likely see much lower on Amazon. I think we will tag the 200 MA whenever that is in the coming weeks or months. Personally, I'm not rushing into it. But can we have a 100-point rip, 200-point rip to the upside? Of course we can, right? Can we have something like this, a break of this trend line and see something around 3,200? Of course we can. It can happen, right? Then we see what happens in the market, right? But that's that. And apart from that, guys, not much. IWM, I'm keeping an eye on it. Right, a very interesting chart on the weekly. It's very interesting. This is a very big bear flag in my opinion. Right, some of you guys will be able to see it. Right, it's a very let me just draw it for you guys. So it's a very so on the weekly, it's kind of bear flagging, right? If I just draw it here like this, and now we see, does the market hold or not into FOMC? If we hold, great. If we not, this thing can waterfall 15, 20 points to the downside all at once in 1-2 days, right? But for that, some news or something has to hit the markets for that to happen. But if we continue holding this range for now or build a base higher, then we might even go test the 50 MA one more time, who knows, right? Russell, the small caps, sometimes when they don't move for a long, long time. They just like hibernate basically, like something like this. When the stock doesn't move, it does nothing for so long, right? And same in back in the, if you guys just zoom out into the back. But here, unable to hold a very similar chart pattern to Amazon for some reason, and let's see what happens, right? But maybe we get a downside into FOMC, then we reverse back again, right? But a lot of put flow in this name as well into later dates, all right? And now if you're buying positions, we highly recommend buy a month or 5 weeks out, right? Whether it's puts or calls, right? That's that. I can tell you weeklies, go in very small because there's no guarantee what's going to happen the next day unless you want to gamble with your money. That's completely up to you. And it's Friday today, guys. If you're up nice for the week, no need to overtrade. Let's see what happens, right? There will be some sort of rally today, maybe in the morning, maybe midday, maybe at the end of the day. I have no idea when it happens, right? But SPX 4300 plus, if we get to 4320ish, I would look to take some puts, right? And let's see what happens then. God bless. See you guys back in the chat.